This is a really special episode, and I hope this is one that you'll listen to with your partner and share with friends or family who are expecting or who are already new parents. Last May, in recognition of Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month, we shared several very personal stories about postpartum anxiety and depression across 4 episodes of How Long Till Bedtime. These were powerful conversations, and I urge you to go back and listen to episodes 29, 30, 31, and 32 if you haven't already. As we discussed then, it is believed that 1 in 5 new moms experience some level of perinatal mood or anxiety disorder or postpartum mood or anxiety disorder. And when a new mom experiences postpartum anxiety or depression, her partner is 50% more likely to also experience anxiety or depression. So this year, as a follow-up, we wanted to share a slightly different perspective on this very important topic. We have 3 men chiming in for today's episode. Mike Vasquez and Todd Kennedy are married to women who shared their postpartum struggles in those episodes I just mentioned. And Alex Grant is the husband of a member of my Sleep Tight community. I asked Mike, Todd, and Alex some questions about their own personal adjustment to parenthood and their experience with having a partner who struggled with postpartum anxiety or depression. I am so grateful that these 3 men agreed to share their experience and their insight. I know their thoughtful and heartfelt comments will be eye-opening and informative to all the new and expecting parents in this community. Hi, I'm Allison Egidi, a pediatric sleep and wellness coach and a mom of 2. I love to help parents find solutions. This is How Long Till Bedtime. When I asked Mike, Todd, and Alex to share what the biggest challenge was when they became a parent, they all shared that the change in lifestyle, how drastic the shift was, and how much changed all at once was the biggest hurdle they faced. I hear this so often from my clients, both men and women. And in families where the new mom suffers from any kind of postpartum mental health struggle, this hurdle becomes even harder to overcome. All 3 of the men who are joining me for today's episode have partners that have struggled with perinatal depression or anxiety, postpartum depression or anxiety, or both. So often, partners and family have trouble spotting the warning signs that the new mom is having a hard time. I asked Mike, Todd, and Alex to think back to what the first signs were that their partner was struggling and not having a, quote, typical postpartum experience.
I could definitely tell something was off. I think the challenge for me and most likely a lot of men is like kind of what immediately can fix it, right? Like go into problem solving mode. And I think it was one of those things that a little bit it improves with time and the baby kind of being able to sleep more, but then also what are some strategies to be supportive and make sure that everyone gets some much needed rest. Just being kind of there for the person, and for me, kind of the big takeaway is just making sure that you all are honest about how much rest the mom is getting or you are getting during that time, because that was a big factor for us. It's kind of going back to the fundamentals of getting good rest, working out, kind of getting outside in sunshine, and kind of having a support network around the family that can take your mind off of some of the struggles of the evening or not sleeping.
Recognizing that Holly was suffering from postpartum depression was probably one of our biggest challenges. In some ways, we were fortunate as it happened with our second child, so we actually had something to compare it to. Even so, I think we were both slow to recognize that she was suffering. In hindsight, I think some of the things that stood out were there weren't enough highs to offset the lows, and there was probably a little more anger than just sadness, which is something that we both picked up on over time.
Laura suffered from postpartum anxiety, and the first sort of signs that I noticed something was wrong was normal situations were treated differently than they had been before. So, for example, time became very important. If Isaac went down at 9:01 versus 9 o'clock, it became an issue. If I was 10 minutes late to come home from work, that was an issue. And, just different reactions to what I would call just normal situations.
Wow, right? We've heard from Holly and Caroline on this podcast, and I've personally talked to Laura about her challenges during our consultations. But hearing it from the perspective of their partners is really important. And I think it's worth noting that each of the women's symptoms were quite different. So it's not always going to present itself in the same way. I followed up by asking what advice they would give to other new dads to be regarding how best to support their partners, what they wish they had known beforehand, and what eventually helped them work through these challenges. Here are Alex and Todd's responses.
In terms of how, what steps to take to support them, I would say be patient, be kind, and remember that it's not your fault and it may not always make sense, but just hang in there and really just be patient. What I wish I had realized earlier was that it's not my fault. The anxiety had nothing to do with me or what I was doing. It was something that she was experiencing, and nothing I would have done or could have done would have changed that.
I think the two biggest things that helped Holly through her struggles were first identifying that she was actually suffering from postpartum depression. We didn't recognize this right away, and that created even more challenges. But once we did, that really helped normalize the situation versus having her feel badly about feeling badly. I think the second was getting her help. It was a real turning point when Holly was able to work with a therapist who specialized in postpartum depression.
And Mike shared how they didn't expect Caroline's struggle, and it left him feeling a bit helpless, particularly because Caroline was breastfeeding. I think a lot of partners will relate to this feeling. He offers valuable insights on how helping his wife get more sleep was crucial and what lessons he learned about finding the best resources to help his family.
Yeah, I mean, this was a tough one. I think certainly it was something that we both didn't expect. Like for me, it was a real feeling of helplessness, seeing that Caroline was breastfeeding and things. There's only so much I was able to do in terms of feeding and getting up at night. But I think if we were kind of to do it over again, I think really focusing on sleep for Caroline, and certainly kind of whatever we have to do to kind of make that happen would be kind of a big change, and kind of taking some of that burden off of that overall time. We ended up getting a part-time kind of night nurse that helped a little bit, kind of different strategies to try and get Caroline some sleep. I run my own business, which also didn't help the case because I didn't take too much time off or really any time off after Hunter was born, or making sure that I was being able to be supportive during the day, especially when those days became long and kind of Hunter's not sleeping or not taking naps, I think would have been some improvements. I think in terms of spotting that, I mean, it's hard because you don't know what is normal after a kid is born. Everything is new. Everything is changing. You don't know what to expect. It's like, hey, like, yeah, kids don't sleep when they're 0 to 3 years old. Ha ha ha. Right. I think understanding how to take breaks, how to sleep when they sleep or rest when they rest, that was something that would be a kind of good takeaway for us, is finding what resources are out there to help kind of strengthen those fundamental things of sleep and eating well, exercise. I didn't know about night nurses before this, so that was a big help just to take some stress off. for a night or two a week, having family around, things like that is always good. And also having someone not be afraid to kind of come in from a detached perspective and say, hey, like, this is a problem or this is a challenge. Like, I see you guys trying to burn the candle on both ends, like take some breaks and things like that. So having someone that's close in your life that's not necessarily with you every day or see you every day is also good to have some outlets and perspective.
I mentioned earlier that when women have postpartum anxiety or depression, their partner is 50% more likely to also experience anxiety or depression. I asked Mike, Alex, and Todd if they had struggled with depression or anxiety after the birth of their baby or babies, and I asked what help or support would have been most useful to them during that time. Alex, Todd, and Mike were extremely open with what they were feeling during that period of their life.
I didn't really experience any anxiety or depression. I suppose I did feel some anxiety just off of the environment that we were living in. And juggling someone else's anxiety can create anxiety, but I would say the overall experience, I didn't really have much anxiety or depression.
I was fortunate that I didn't experience anything as significant as depression or severe anxiety, but it was certainly a really difficult time. For me, I struggled at first to understand what was going on and then how best to support Holly. I often felt frustrated because I didn't seem to be able to help or hurt when Holly would get angry with me. I think the biggest thing for me was first understanding what she was suffering from, and then spending some time reading and learning about it. It wasn't a silver bullet, but it gave me the context to better understand and support Holly.
I think for me, it wasn't, I wouldn't say that I had anxiety, depression. I think what I mostly felt was kind of a sense of helplessness, seeing Caroline struggle. I think if there were any support for me, I mean, I don't think that there was anything specific other than kind of going back to that, my mantra of kind of keeping it simple in terms of making sure you kind of keep doing those fundamental healthy living lifestyle things. So I think to the extent that if someone is having challenges, I think don't be afraid to share that, with your spouse or significant other, whoever it may be, or even just a friend that can listen for a bit or get you out of kind of the routine of eat, sleep with the baby that kind of seems to never end. But I think the other thing that to keep in mind is, like, hopefully, I certainly kind of plug for Allison here, is like, call Allison up, get your kind of work on the sleep, kind of really prioritize that, because I think it helps the whole family.
Well, thanks, Mike, for the shout out there. I'm in total agreement that sleep is crucial. And sleep for the new mom is just as important as sleep for the baby. Sleep is the most effective and least expensive way for a mom to start to feel better. On that note, if you're a new or expecting parent, I would strongly encourage you to listen to episode 15, where I share a strategy for helping new moms get 4 to 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep. All right. So, throughout many of their responses, the men shared that leaning on a support network is crucial. That was also definitely a reoccurring theme in the conversations I had last year with the women I interviewed on this topic. And I know that those of us in those support networks really do want to help in any way that we can. It's just so critically important that moms and dads are honest about the fact that they are struggling or they don't know what to do, and that they share that with someone, whether it be their partner, another family member, a friend, their doctor, a lactation consultant, their sleep coach, their child's pediatrician. There are a lot of people that you are connected to that could point you in the right direction. Once you're able to share that you're struggling or you're just not sure what the next right step is, these people can help you find the resources you need. I'm going to wrap up today with Todd's thoughts on the role models in his life. I think we can all appreciate that a new mom's support network is crucial. but I'm so glad that Todd shed a light on the importance of supportive friends and family in a new dad's life as well.
I think the thing that allowed me to overcome my early uncertainty was that I had a lot of great role models in my life and people I could go to for advice. I certainly used my own parents, but I had a lot of friends who had had kids before me, and whether it was talking beforehand or even reaching out to them during this time, they were a real source of kind of comfort and advice for me as I was trying to navigate all these new challenges.
I want to share a huge thank you to Alex, Mike, and Todd for sharing such valuable insights. I know their willingness to open up on this somewhat touchy topic is going to help a lot of other parents. I really hope that you'll share this episode with the new and expecting parents in your life. Sometimes hearing and relating to someone else's experience can really help someone identify that they truly are struggling. And it can also give them hope that this will pass and they will be well again. This is a message that we cannot overshare. As always, thanks for listening. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to How Long Till Bedtime. To learn how we can work together to improve your child's sleep, pleep and wellnesscoach.com.